Hey, good evening. Welcome to Foriegner in the Philippines. So it's a late night ramble, really. Although it does actually deal with a specific thing which has been of great interest to me for a long time. Ever since we started our channel, we have, like many other people, suffered with trolls, and I always felt that eventually things will turn. And lo and behold, somebody sent me this because they knew of my interest. They sent me this reference, 60 Minutes Australia. And 60 Minutes Australia is a popular TV program in which they deal quite a lot of the time with very serious subjects, and quite a lot of the time they deal with human interest stories. And the one that I watched was to do with the harm that trolls do. Now, trolls are responsible for some of the baddest, most damaging, emotionally upsetting, heartbreaking, wicked work on the planet. And the thing is that everybody says, well, just ignore them. And if you go on and look up 60 Minutes Australia, and what I typed in to get this, so that I'd get the reference, because I watched it some time ago, but now something else came in which sparked my interest again, and I felt that I should make a video about it. But there's a lady called Erin Molan. But if you put in 60 Minutes Australia trolls, then you'll start to get these two or three programs that are dealing with this. And Erin was hounded by this particular scumbag of a man who, when she was pregnant, was wishing that her child would be stillborn and that she would die afterwards. This is not trivial stuff. It's really horrifying, the kind of thing, the evil that she was plagued with. Now, she has gone up, and what she did in the end was she took as much as she could, and then one night her and the family were in bed, 2 o'clock in the morning, and a window was broken in. And in that flash of a moment, before she knew what had happened, she thought that the person who had been hounding her all of this time had come to make his threat come true and killed him. So it was a terrifying moment. And in that moment she decided, I'm not having any more of this. She went to the police. Now, normally the police, their hands are tied on this because it's cybercrime. But this is changing. And it changed for Erin because they actually tracked this guy down. Now, it's not impossible, but it's one of those things that the police just don't have the resources at the moment to have a very highly skilled cybercrimes unit. Now, even in the Philippines, there is a cybercrimes unit. And it is working. Well, just looking at it's working, but the scope within which they can operate is limited. Well, in Erin's case, they actually found this guy. It turned out that he was a married man with daughters of his own, but something had happened where he got a bug in his brain about Erin and her success as a presenter. She's a successful presenter, beautiful lady, and talented, and runs successful show. And they took him to court. They tried him for a crime and they took him to court, and he was given a sentence, but I think the sentence was suspended because right now they're not quite up to scratch on how to deal with this. Now, if you've been following our videos, you'll know that we've been talking about paperwork. We're still doing paperwork. The reason for this is that they don't know how to deal with what we're doing, because since we started on our path, so many expat channels are doing what we set out to do, and they're doing it completely unhampered. But we are the test case. It won't go on forever. We will get our approval. But the trolls will keep on doing what they do. Now, why do I think it's going to change? Well, let me quote another 60 Minutes show, which you will see if you go to look at the one with Erin Molan. Because there's another one there, and his name was Anthony Seibold. Now, Anthony Seibold in Australia was the hottest young coach for football, and he was actually, what was the, you got to bear with me now because I am the worst spectator sport fan in the entire universe. He was the football coach of the Broncos, the Australian Broncos, and at the top of his career, the trolls started to spread rumours about him, that he was on drugs, that he was doing all kinds of stuff outside of his family, that I'm not going to go into it. If you can think of something evil, they were accusing him. They went after his parents, they went after his daughter, after his wife. They made everybody's life a misery, and they ruined his reputation because they put him in doubt. In the end, he quit. He quit this prestigious job and returned to Sydney. But, and this is the turning point, I feel. This is the turning point in the whole thing about trolls and how unaccountable they are. They're not accountable for anything that they do. Now, what he did was, he was fortunate that he had the finances to be able to hire a foreign team of cyber investigators, cybercrime investigators, and they tracked down several, but one main one who was doing this stuff. Now, here's where the big change is going to come. They don't know how to approach it. They don't know how to do it. But people like Erin Molan are saying it shouldn't take a ton of threats. It shouldn't take a ton of threats. It should only take one or two. And if they are vile enough, then that is an assault. You can't go round in ordinary life assaulting people in this particular way. So things are going to change. Now, what we have been going through is very similar stuff. There's one place where you can go and look at probably 11,000, believe me, 11,000 poison, toxic comments that accuse us of everything. We've had people calling up, not calling up, but they don't call. If they get hold of the number, they'll text, but they do it in comments on various sites. And they'll accuse Beth of doing this and me of doing that, and they'll accuse us of all kinds of things. Now, here's the thing. By law, as far as I know, they shouldn't really take any notice of anonymous complaints. I've seen that written, that anonymous complaints should not be entertained. They should have a name, a verifiable name, and a searchable address before it's taken seriously. But we get complaints which are made, which are damaging to us, which we have to just work through. And we've been working through them for 3 years. And we've been investigated up the wazoo. And can you believe that we've only ever had one face-to-face complaint made about us? And that was that a woman and her son, apparently, went into the DSWD in Taliban, and they made a serious complaint against us. They reported to the DSWD that Terence and Beth had served the children at church at 12 o'clock at the hottest part of the day, and they had served us ice cream. I kid you not, that was their complaint. So, what's going to happen is that as people find a way to search what is going on, and as groups, as social media like Facebook and YouTube, as they themselves are held accountable, because let's face it, they provide a platform for the hate. They provide a platform for all of this scumbag behavior, where people are being threatened, where young kids are being forced to suicide. If you read the papers at all, you'll know that that's true. Young kids, especially, actually I shouldn't say especially, because it's boys and girls under the age of 14, and have been hounded by these people. Cyberbullying, that's what they do. And people have killed themselves because they saw no other way out and could not see it ending, and could not see these, let's call them people, being held accountable. But this is what will happen. Based on the idea that I made and presented in another video just before this one, there is a thing called Moore's Law. And Moore's Law says that things will improve 100 times. You have to extrapolate that and take it to it as it grows 100 times every 10 years. So work it out. You've got two prominent people now who've made that complaint, and they're using cyber crime investigators in the same way that we used to think of private investigators in America. Remember Magnum PI, the tough guy driving a borrowed Ferrari, and he'd solve the crime and bring the perp into justice. Yes? Well, we've had the latest thing which prompted me to go back and look at Erin Molan and at the other Anthony and bring this up and put my point forward. And that is that a millionaire, very rich man, has now come forward, and he has hired a cybercrime group of investigators to find out any evidence that's available on the present thing that's going on the elections, which is going to impact a huge number of people. And these are experts who are detecting cybercrime, cyber misbehaviour, and they've been looking into it, and they've been amassing evidence. Now I know that people are saying there's no evidence. I saw only today that all of this has happened without a shred of evidence, and well, I respect that that's your opinion, and time will tell. But just as these things are being discovered by cybercrimes investigators, what will happen? It has to happen just in the same way that people like Beth and I, and anyone that's out there, wants to put up a video, they can make a movie, even though this is the most modest of movies. It's just a talking head, isn't it? It's just me waffling on, if you like. But I'm able to do it. Could I do this, say, 6 or 7 years ago? Probably not. In fact, I think I was just on Facebook 6 or 7 years ago. Now, I know that it did happen then, because I did try way back then, 7 or 8, it might be 7 or 8 years ago now, that I went on, let me see, and if you type in Terence Flannery at the Shine Hall, you'll see that I had a now defunct, abandoned channel, and I put the one video up, and that's all it has on there. So I did try back then, but it didn't come off. But now, look at the editing skills that people have by a simple, inexpensive app, probably free, that they can do all kinds of incredible things that they couldn't do back then. So, the cybercrimes thing will evolve, it will unfold, and people who are invisible right now, who are in spite of everything that they may think, are leaving a trail which is indelible and which they will be found out about. Now, Erin Molan, if you look at the 60 Minutes one, it's not all good news, but what it does is it shows someone who has the clout to be able to get some action, so that these people who are doing what they do in the name of right and wrong, it's not about that. They will be caught and held accountable, and she is fighting for legislation that will imprison them. Now, everything that's been levelled at us, we've been investigated several times, NBI, and very recently the police, because of what a totally unfounded allegation was made. And the police, we went to see them, they came up here to see us, we were not in, they left a message with Nanai, all very civil, and we went to see them, and we did an affidavit which answers what is there. We took all of the evidence that we need, that the people, the family, that they had accused us of scamming, that we had been actually supporting for, I think it's something like 2 years. We built this family a house, and unfortunately the mother died and left 5 kids who we are now supporting. So we're still here, and we're still fighting to be all of the paperwork done. That's what we're doing. And so that's why we have a disclaimer on here saying we are not soliciting, either directly or indirectly, for funds. We're not soliciting. So eventually it will become so cheap. That computer that tablet that you can buy for $300 now, that does as much as my friend Bob could do in that room full of computer equipment. That can do it all. And eventually, what is a complex investigative process will become online, and then we'll see. Thanks for looking in, and bye for now.